Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily. That's what we're calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We're using the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 226, Should You But Fail at Sea. In some ways, of course, we're back to poem 52 and the sea. This is another Sam Boyle's letter. And at the very end of the letter, before this poem, he said, she says to him, "To thank you shames my thought," which makes this a fascinating study in terms of what exactly is it that she's saying in this poem. Now, our assumptions, you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful you've already worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through the preceding 225 poems. We just finished with 225, Jesus, Thy Crucifix. Now, in some ways, this poem is going to remind you to poem 220, and the idea that Emily is showing just how incredibly loyal she is. Now, lots of scholars have pointed out that the tone of these kinds of poems about where she says, "I am loyal," is the subplot of this is almost like, "Are you loyal to me?" And there seems to be some of that here. I'm also going to make the argument that I think there's two biblical parables that of Christ's teachings that will be standing in the back of her mind as she reads this. Now, some have called this one of Emily's weaker offerings, fairly kind of obvious and the like. I don't think so. I think every one of these poems has a depth to it, no pun intended, given that we're talking about the sea and potentially drowning. Should you but fail at sea, in sight of me, or doomed lie next sun to die, or rap at paradise unheard, I'd harass God until He let you in. I love the exclamation point of this poem. I love the idea that she says, if you were stranded, I would do everything in my power, up to and including harassing deity, to make sure that you were taken care of. Again, notice this formulation, should you but fail. What about if I fail at sea? Who will be there for me? Seems to be standing behind possibly this Sam Boyle's offering. Notice it is a matter of failing at sea. In other words, you can't swim any longer. And you're inside of me. In other words, I'm there to potentially save you, but I can't save you. This is interesting. Or doomed lie. In other words, it's too late. We think about Stevie Smith's Not Waving But Drowning. We've given a full lecture at learnstrong.net on that one. Next, sun. It's interesting because when you see the word sun this way, it almost makes you think of Sunday. And then I think the religious referencing here is acceptable. Of course, we're going to get to paradise in a sec, which takes us back to poem 225 with mind thee in paradise. Next, sun, to die. In other words, you're out, you're stuck on the ocean. There's no way for you to be saved. Or wrapped, that is to say, you're already on your way at paradise unheard. Now, this is interesting. In other words, it would be as if the deity has not been paying attention. She says, I'd harass God. Notice it is italicized in the Johnson edition. Now, this word harass she'll use in poems 629, 786, and 858. I'll let you run it to ground. It's interesting the way she uses it. She says, I'd harass God. Notice God also italicized. Until He let you in. Now, there seems to be some suggestion here that for whatever reason, paradise has been closed to whoever the you of this poem is, again sent to Sam Boyle's, but that Emily has enough sway, or at least she has enough assiduity to keep harassing or knocking at the door or whatever, until finally God says, fine, let him in. Now, I think that the 2A argument here, or message, is that true friends do care about each other, but I think there's something far more subtle going on here. At 2B, of course, we're back to the sea, and we're back in poem 52. We're back to the two swimmers of poem 201. And the tone here is obvious, it seems to me. It's as if Emily is saying, I would actually do anything up to and including harassing deity itself to make sure you were taken care of. Now, I think that standing behind this poem are two Luke passages from the Gospel of Luke. The first of those is Luke 11, 5 through 10. And Christ said to them, which of you shall have a friend, and shall go unto him at midnight, and say unto him, Friend, lend me 3 loaves, for a friend of mine is in his journey is come to me, and I have nothing to set before him. And he from within shall answer and say, Trouble me not. The door is now shut. My children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give thee. I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him, because he is his friend, yet because of his importunity, Emily will use the word harass, importunity, he will rise and give him as many as he needeth. And I say unto you, ask and it shall be given, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. A few chapters later in Luke 18, a similar kind of parable, 1 through 8. And he spoke a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. Of course, here it's harass, right? In Emily's poem. Saying, there was in a city a judge which feared not God, neither regarded men. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, avenge me of mine adversary. And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth me, again, harasses is the word. Emily would have known this from the King James, her King James reading. I shall avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. Again, back to the idea of harass. And the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge saith. And shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, cry, harass? Though he bear long with them, I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth. Now, it is that final verse that I think is in large measure what stands behind this poem. I think this poem is actually quite complicated. I think that Emily is actually asking that question. Is there still faith? Is there still loyalty? In other words, this is what I'm willing to do for you. Do you have those same feelings towards me? Which takes us to 3B and how to own a poem like this. When was a time that you took care of a pal? When was a time that you expected a pal to take care of you? And did that happen or did that not happen? We're back, obviously, to maybe Emily's insecurities. We'll see. Thank you.